What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Back from vacation, so let's go ahead and get caught up on these reviews. This is going to be Chicago, Black Ink Crew Chicago. I don't know what season we on. The season finale of season 5, I believe it is. Let me go on and check. Let me go on and check for y'all. Season 6. So episode 16, season 6, but this was the season finale. I feel like, because you know, this was supposed to premiere like maybe 2 months ago, and I feel like VH1 was trying to wait, or Big Fish, it wasn't VH1, Big Fish was trying to wait it out, because watching this episode was almost like a time capsule, and I understand it was only a time capsule that's only about 5 or 6 months old. Well, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, about 5 months old. But so much has transpired in those 5 months. They were able to capture what was going on for all of us, actually, before Corona hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what well, not before Corona hit, but before we kind of actually went into an official shutdown mode. And the reality that most of us are still living in a semi-shutdown mode, it's surreal. And I think that they hesitated with premiering this season because it was almost like they were saying, okay, we'll be back in a month, we'll start filming again. And I think when they got to the point where they realized we might not be able to film for a while, so let's put out what we have, because it's only been about 5 or 6 episodes. But it was just surreal to watch it. I wasn't even caring about, you know, the storylines and all of that so much as seeing what I lived through the lenses of someone else. And we all lived it. You know what I'm saying? And so the episode starts off, we have Charmaine barely getting to the hospital. I think they were being dramatic, but Charmaine getting to the hospital. Charmaine, excuse me. Her contractions were 5 minutes apart at that point. But I don't know about all that, because when is it? There's a point where it's too late to get an epidural. I ain't never had no babies. Somebody's going to tell me in the comments. Neither here nor there. Charmaine got to the hospital, and the first thing you realize about how this world is different, because before they let her into the hospital, they made her and her husband put on face masks. Like, crazy, right? Like, you're walking into the hospital, and before you can walk into the hospital, you have to put on a face mask. That is so crazy to me. When she called her cousin Danielle to come down, she was like, listen, you're the only person I'm inviting to come down to the hospital. Now, you wouldn't even be able to invite them. My nephew, his wife, their baby was delivered in May. And not only was no one allowed to come to the hospital, but they got her out of there in 24 hours. Like, they already released mamas and babies quick. But when I say it was like she had that baby, you okay, the baby okay? Okay, y'all gotta go home. Like, we not playing. Ain't no observation. If something happened, call us back. But you going home and this baby's going home. Peace. And I was just like, damn. You know what I mean? So we had that going on, and throughout the episode they kept flashing back to Charmaine and what was going on with her or whatever, but they kept flashing back to it. But she got her a good old epidural, and she was feeling no pain. And you know, I ain't never had no baby. I've never been in labor. I've had some cramps that have felt like contractions. Why is my, hold on y'all, why is my screen not? Oh, no wonder. Child, I'm tripping, y'all. I'm tripping. So, then we have what's going on down. We have the guys are like, listen, they like paying the streets of Chicago, and they were showing how dead, like, the streets were, how nobody was out. And again, lived it. I saw it. I know how that feels. Like, driving around. I remember telling my mom one time I was going to the grocery store for them. And I remember telling her, I said, I almost was like waiting to see some tumbleweed blow across the street, because the streets were so deserted. But they was on their way to the gym. They said, listen, we're going to keep going to the gym until they close the gym, they said. And, you know, I think the gym for them has become sort of a very cathartic thing for them. And I mean all of them, Ford, Don, and Ryan. And they look like they have a little crew that they lift with and everything. And so, you know, they showed them going to the gym, but they were being safe. They weren't, the gym wasn't allowing any more than 10 people, because one of the guys even joked, one more person, we're gonna have to shut this party down. Like, you know, we almost at our limit. So there was only like 10 people allowed in. and they were actually filming from their phones because I guess the cameras weren't allowed to come in because I might have put them over their limit. I don't know. But you just saw where people were putting precautions in place, like starting. You saw Ryan was doing, he was panning the shop, and at one point, one of his tattoo artists didn't have on her mask, and he was like, "Yo, I need you to put your mask on." He was like, "Listen, we still open for now, but I'm gonna need you to follow the guidelines." And so they were allowed to stay open as long as they were social distancing. And the question is, how do you social distance and get somebody a damn tattoo? You know what I'm saying? Like how you social distancing and giving somebody a tattoo? It's almost. That's almost crazy. I'm sorry, Khalid. Why I can't find nothing? Anyway, so then we had over at Second City, and of course you have Kitty and the crew at Second City, and they're going through the same thing. Basically, people, clients are canceling, artists are calling off. Like, listen, I have a family, I need to be safe, and so it's that catch-22. And like Kitty was saying, she was like, look, we were finally getting the shop together. Like, they were open, we had all our permits, we finally had a full staff, we had a receptionist. She said we were actually starting to make a profit, and now we have to shut everything down. And on top of shutting everything down, we don't know what's going to happen month to month. She's like, even if we miraculously make the rent next month, what about the month after that? What happens after that? Like, it's a small business. They were talking about the schools closing, and Ryan was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, Chicago's one of those places that schools just don't close. Like, they don't have snow days, and they do, but it has to be an extreme situation. And I remember when Barack Obama was first elected president, and I remember when, like, the first, snow that we had down here, and it was this whole thing about school closing and school delays and stuff, and he called us some wusses, and that was the first little backlash he got from us. We was like, hold up, player, don't be coming down here trying to tell us how to run our schools. You don't know our struggle, okay? But he was coming from a place like Chicago where they go to school and be like 10 inches on the ground, like they don't. So schools closing, and you just saw it in real time. Don and Ashley were having a conversation. Ashley was ready. Ashley was ready to head on down to Texas. She was like, "Listen, I'm scared. I'm nervous. Me and my baby daddy aren't even together, so I'm ready to just go on, the plane and head on down to Texas." And her and Don had a conversation, and she was talking about how the numbers are lower in Texas than in Chicago, and how they had a real conversation. But when it was all over said and done, Don was like, "Look, stop playing. We're going to go on the quarantine together. It's going to be you, it's going to be me, and it's going to be these boys, and we're going to figure it out. And if we die, we die together." And, of course, then Ashley was Danielle. What's the baby name? Ashley. I keep telling y'all her Instagram name is Danielle Ashley, or Ashley Danielle. That's where I keep getting the Danielle from. But anyway, she told me something. Don may not be the perfect husband, but I know he a good father, so we going to ride it out together. Child, we knew that. We knew you wasn't going nowhere. Anyway, child. They listen. I think Don is a much better husband than when he started out. I really think Don is in a different place in his life. I really do. And I wish them the best. I wish them well. And I hope I hope that Ashley can get to a point where not everything he does is suspect. Because I really think at this point, Don, you're just a victim of your past. And nothing is going to change that but time for her to have enough evidence that you're getting it together. But anyway, so they decided to quarantine together. We saw Bella going shopping, and she was like, "Listen, I'm just trying to get enough food to feed my kids." And of course, we saw the grocery stores, which again, we all went through that. For those of you who follow me on my YouTube channel, y'all know I went out 3 mornings in a row looking for toilet paper for me and my family, like me and my parents. And it was we weren't out yet, but we was getting close, okay? And y'all saw how every morning standing in line just to get some damn toilet paper, okay? So, we saw Kitty and Jess actually having a civil conversation about things at the shop and how they didn't want to really, they didn't want to bother Charmaine was in labor this whole episode. Now, this whole episode had to take place over a couple of days. But every time they said something, it was like, well, you know, Charmaine in labor. We don't want to bother her. I said, that had to be the longest labor I have ever seen in my life. How Charmaine still in labor? But neither here nor there, child. But eventually, we know that all of the businesses did have to shut down. So the tattoo shop shut down. You know, both shops shut down. And honestly, you know, y'all know Ryan gets on my nerves a lot. Y'all know I be giving it to him. But y'all know I also give him his props when I feel like the props are in order. And the one thing I will always give props for, and the one thing I always, you know, big up Ryan on is at being a black entrepreneur who came from where he came from, built it up. He might have made some mistakes along the way. He may not have been the best. You know, he may not have been able to balance that friend, businessman, manager, owner thing to the best of his ability. All of that. But at the end of the day, you never want to see an entrepreneur, especially a young black man and woman, in Charmaine's case, have to deal with this, because we see corporations filing for bankruptcy. I can only imagine having to maintain as a small business. And the one thing Ryan said was that, you know, he feels responsible for his people. You know, not just worrying about food getting on his table, but he feels responsible for making sure food is on their table. And there's really nothing you could do. And let's be clear, we know people were still doing stuff at home and all of that, but it still wasn't the safest, and it still wasn't recommended. There was a little thing where they were showing Drea out trying to get her nails done, and all that she had to go through to get her nails done. Y'all know my struggles. Again, if y'all follow me, y'all know my struggles on my channel. Listen, listen, my nails damn near grew off my fingers because I couldn't get my nails done. It wasn't until they started opening up the door a little bit that I could slide in and give me a good old, give me a fresh set and give me a pedicure. And we about to be locked down again. I need to go get a fill-in before we get locked down again. We saw Kit and what's his name? What Steve? Kit and Steve flirting. You know, he called her to let her know, because you know Jess and Steve, I believe it's Steve, you know, they're from England, and of course we know that the virus, it was spreading around the world, but it hit other places harder before it got to the United States as bad as it is now. And England was one of those places where they were dealing with cases long before we were dealing with cases. And he was talking to Kit saying, listen, we gotta head home. Like, Jess and I, we need to get home. And Jess was saying, you know, she felt bad because she brought him here. You know, she was like, she said, not only did I uproot my life, but I brought him here, obviously not knowing the situation. And, you know, they were saying, listen, if something would have happened to my family and I was here quarantining in the U.S. and couldn't get home, like, I don't know if I'd be able to forgive myself. And I can absolutely understand where both of them are coming from. We saw them at the airport. We saw flights were getting canceled left and right. But thank God they did make it out and they were able to get home. So, shoosh, thank God for that. But we also saw him flirting with Kitty a little bit, because, again, we thinking this is going to be going on for a couple of weeks and we'll be back home, you know. And so he was flirting with Kitty and asked Kitty out on a date. And, of course, she was being her normal evasive, playing hard to get Kitty stuff. But Kitty was like, listen, I done played them games. I done dealt with them kind of games. And, child, I ain't impressed with it. We'll see. Ain't nobody impressed with him, honey. We'll see. He asked her if she was going home. You know, Kitty's from D.C. She's from my neck of the woods. And she said no, you know, her dad is older. And she said she would never forgive herself if she made her dad sick. And, you know, I feel you on that one, Kitty, because I deal with that myself with my family. Every time I walk in my parents' house, even if it's just me bringing them groceries, bringing them food, whatever, you know, that's just a real fear that we deal with. And so I definitely understand that. So she said she was going to quarantine in Chicago. Then we had a conversation with Ryan and Rachel. And basically Ryan was telling Rachel he wanted to quarantine together. And Rachel was like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. And Ryan was just like, and I think it was a twofold thing, because I think the first part was his kids, but the second part I think was like, damn, like, because, you know, let's just go and call a spade a spade. Ryan want Rachel back. And I think Rachel has finally got to a point where she's like, you know what? I don't think this is where my story ends. Like, I love you. I will always have love for you. But I I just don't think you're the one anymore. And it's a hard break because they have been together for so long. They have had this entwined relationship. And so I think it was a hard moment for Ryan. All I'm going to say is this. I think it's going to be a long time before Ryan allows himself to fall in love again. That don't mean he ain't going to date, and that don't mean he ain't going to sleep around. I'm talking about falling in love, full-fledged girlfriend relationship, you my boo. I really think it's going to be a long time before Ryan allows himself to be in that place. But anyway, so that was that. I heard that about covers it, honey. I think that about covers it. And then, you know, ultimately we had the birth of Charmaine's baby, which of course we know Charmaine gave birth. Thank God everybody was healthy and she was able to get home, honey. And Charmaine's baby looked just like her mama. Have you ever seen that baby? She was as cute as she could be, and she looked just like her mama. And I can only imagine that moment when Charmaine really got a good look at her daughter and saw that it was a spitting image of her mom. Like, I can only imagine. But that baby looked just like her mama. And so, y'all, we'll see how we don't know what's going to go on with these shows and with filming and all of that. So we will see what we get when we get it. It's going to probably be a while before we get a full-fledged, like, storyline season type situation. So, I don't know. We'll see. And y'all know that VH1 cut ties with Big Fish. So, it'll also be interesting to see what happens with that, honey. All right, y'all. Y'all let me know. Peace.